So ETTR really works when the scene dynamic range is within the dynamic range of the sensor. What you really need to do then is to identify the dynamic range of the scene, and if the scene's range is too great beyond that of the sensor, then you've got to think about doing something like HDR.
Right, and HDR comes in many different flavors. You can do HDR using various standalone programs and plugins, or you can do it in Photoshop, and in fact, little point and shoots have HDR capability automatically built in now. You can set it go and it does 3 JPEGs and merges them together. So I'm not going to show full-blown HDR doing 6 exposures over a 12-stop dynamic range, that kind of thing, because frankly, it usually looks like HDR.
You got to be really careful about that. But I generally use Photoshop and just layer blending.
Exactly. But let me give you an example of something that you can do in most cameras. So this is my favorite little camera. This is the camera I love to hate, or I hate to love. Image quality is fabulous. It's only 12 megapixels, but they're gorgeous. Gorgeous pixels, gorgeous images. This is the Fuji X100.
Okay.
Now, it has, let me turn it on, and it has a mode which I can go into Drive, and I can set it to AE bracket, plus or minus 1 stop. This is a very frustrating camera because it forgets things. You can set it, turn the camera off, come back, and it has no idea what you just asked it to do before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a shot of Chris, because he's in a very high contrast situation. We have very hot lights, and so this is going to fire off 3 shots coming up on the rear, and I'm shooting in RAW. Okay, so it's standard exposure, 1 stop under, 1 stop over. Word to camera manufacturers, 1 stop isn't enough. Could I have 1.5 or 2 stops, please, on the bracketing? Okay, so I'm going to pull out the card. I figured this would be more fun to just do this here rather than something done out in the field.
We're talking high art here, folks.
Oh yeah, no, this is definitely high art. Okay, so I'm going to import these 3 shots. And let's make them a little bigger. I'm going to take the middle exposure. I'm going to find something white, and Chris's gray hair is as good as anything. And hit
is that gray or silver?
W for white balance. There.
Okay.
That's not bad. And so now I'm going to go to grid.
And now select all.
Command A.
There we go.
Okay. Sync settings. Synchronize. Okay.
There we go.
So they're all white balanced. Okay, so with them all selected, I'm now going to go to, under File, Plug in Extras, Export to Photomatix Pro.
And this is a third-party product that you installed.
Exactly.
And it has a Lightroom communications.
Right. So what it really is doing is, and here I'm going to hit it, and it's going to ask me a bunch of questions. There are 3 files coming out. Do you want me to align them, crop the cropped results? How do you want to match things up? All of these presets get rid of ghosts automatically, and what do you want to produce? And I'm going to have it output a 16-bit TIFF. So I'm going to hit export. And this is a standalone as well as a plugin. So what you can do is simply take your 3 shots and just copy them into Photomatix. But and now it's aligning them.
You're doing a 3-shot bracket. You could do a 5 or a 7.
You could do as many as you want. You could do 7 shots over 15 stop dynamic range.
You actually want to do, if possible, a metering of the scene and figure out, based upon a dynamic range of, say, 9, 10, 11, 12 stops, how many you actually need in order to maintain the highlight detail and the shadow detail.
And we could do a 2-hour tutorial on Photomatix Pro, but I just want to show you this is sort of the quick and dirty. So what I like about this is it has along the bottom here some presets. So here's what it considers what they call enhancer default. Here's compressor default, fusion default, enhancer painterly, which is really ugly.
grunge.
Enhancer grunge, enhancer smooth. That's not that bad. And then it does a black and white mode, and it has a deep. Anyhow, if we go to enhancer default, that's not bad. Now again, we have a histogram up here, and there are sliders for everything. So we can reduce the strength a little bit here because we have tons of shadow detail.
Yeah.
You know, Chris's black t-shirt, really has, way more detail than we could possibly want. In fact, it can reduce the luminosity level. So I'm not going to spend too much time playing with all of this. But as a matter of fact, I want to move the black point up a little bit because his shirt is, a little bit too.
But just visually, what I'm seeing
is now closer to what the eye sees.
Yeah, because the eye has a much greater dynamic range.
Right. So now I hit save and re-import. And now here's a little gotcha. Where is it? I'm in previous import. Go to all photographs, and now
there we are.
There are 4. That'll trip you up every time. So now I can go in and go into the develop module, and I can.
Now it's important to understand, though, that is a rendered file. It's no longer raw.
That's why, and that's why you want to do things like, particularly do the white balance.
And noise reduction, I would imagine.
And it has noise reduction capability in there. So I'm going to make his t-shirt a little bit darker so it looks a little more natural. And we have some blown highlights. Not really, just a smidge over there.
Well, sometimes you actually do want to clip.
Yeah, that's true. And now let's just get the overall brightness down a little bit. And that is now a really good, natural-looking reproduction. The light illuminating the ceiling is blown, but that's fine. That's
now,
what it
if you
did.
go back to the other 3 images, none of those 3 would really be able to print nearly as well as the HDR version.
Exactly. We've lost shadow detail in this one. We've lost highlight detail in this one. This one's a compromise. So this fourth one, this blended one, doesn't have an HDR look.
Yeah.
And again, this has given HDR a bad name. But HDR done this way, so that you are just trying to get a little more shadow, a little more highlight control, particularly in a high contrast shot like this, really worthwhile. I use it a lot these days.
And one of the things that you pointed out to me before, when you do HDR, you get kind of a smoother, better result, partially because, in a way, the HDR is a little bit of exposed to the right. It takes the brightest exposure and uses that for the shadows. And what that does is really help reduce noise. And do you want to do a little dive into what noise is and what it's all about?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
You're the noise and sharpening maven.
Yes.
So let's do that.